Hi everyone, welcome to my course project which is done as part of Duke University course, Human Factors in AI. Uh, let's get into the problem statement. The problem statement which I have taken for this case is customer segmentation. As we know, customer segmentation is the key to digital marketing. So what I can customer segmentation, so which is the process of dividing or grouping your customers into specific groups based on their similar attributes. So the attributes could be like demographic attributes, psychographics, behavior patterns, or the purchase habits. So what are the benefits of segmentation? So through proper segmentation, businesses be in a position to develop targeted marketing campaigns. They could able to provide customized offering to their specific groups, and then specialized experiences, which in the end maximize the customer loyalty. So improved sales and customer loyalty are the objectives of this problem statement. Let's get into the quest project with this problem statement. Um, the first section of this is task analysis. So basically, a human-centered design approach is critical to a successful AI product. There are two proven approaches called design thinking and task analysis for ensuring this. Here we'll talk about task analysis. Task analysis consists of we identify a set of tasks uh, and then also identify the decisions which is there as part of the chain, the task chain. Then the objective is to simplify the decision steps here. To start with, let's identify the key users and objectives here. The target users for this segmentation problem customer segmentation problem is the business users of sales and marketing. Let's say director of sales and marketing. The problem statement is the business users wanted to know the user segment systematically so that they can do a targeted marketing which leads to improved sales. Let's move it into details of task analysis. Uh, there could be a set of tasks and decisions objective here. What could be the trigger? The trigger could be a customized marketing campaign. Whenever the sales team wanted to start a customized marketing campaign, they would like to know the systematic segments. So that could be the trigger here. The first action is to retrieve the user attributes like demographics, psychographics, and purchase habits, which is part of which is available as part of the historical sales data, and some of the attributes also could be pulled from the social media. And then the next action is to group customers based on the attributes which is identified or selected. The first set of decision here is systematic customer segmentation and user groups. A follow-up action of that is to review and then fine-tune the customer segments if there is a need for that. The final decision is to finalize the customer segments so that you could trigger your marketing campaign. And then once you have finalized your customer segments, so you could publish the customer segments so that a business user could consume the same thing and then utilize it. So what is the objective? The objective is targeted marketing and customer loyalty. Again, the decisions which is marked in red color, so are the decisions and the objectives is to simplify the decision steps. What are the insights? So customer segmentation is crucial for the business. And so that what wants to effectively target its audience. So it helps to effectively target the customers. Also, by knowing who your customers are, it's easy to create targeted marketing campaigns. We could develop products that meet specific needs and also improve the overall experience. So this is about the task analysis part of it. Let's move it into the next phase, which is user experience design. User experience is very, very important for the AI products or AI models. It's all about deals with how the users are interacting with your system and then what are the key considerations. There are three key considerations: transparency, communicating uncertainty, and feedback loops. Start with the user interactions first. So how do we collect the data? At least for this model, the problem statement which you explained, the integrated part of the user's workflow is used to collect the data. The data is collected along with the sales. Of course, the user consent and transparencies are ensured on the data collection side. The user attributes like demographics, psychographics, and behavior patterns are collected, which are a little personal in nature, which is close to users. But then these are collected along with sales with proper consent, and then The customer segments are later defined with similar attributes. Business users could utilize the derived segments for targeted marketing campaigns. That's the purpose, objective. Let's move it into the key considerations on user experience. So start with the user inputs and feedback loops. There could be proper communication to the users on what data is being collected for what purpose and the benefit. This is really, really important. So should be aware of it. And then feedback loops are utilized to improve the model accuracy by fine-tuning and updating the user attributes. That's how the accuracy is maintained. Moving to the transparency side, at least for this model, transparency is really, really important because the results are probabilistic in nature, not very much deterministic. Um, because there is clusters, so it depends on the the training data, testing data, the cluster size and shape could vary. So it's important to explain how the output segments are getting formed to the users. Also, important to provide transparency on how the model works, the features utilized for the clustering, so what algorithms are applied and possible limitations, etc. Uh, the next key consideration is communicating the uncertainty, especially because we are using a clustering technique here, which is unsupervised. There could be possibilities of dealing with different cluster shapes and size. There could be potential problems with the data drift and concept drift. The training data and testing data could vary time to time. Also, the model concept also can get changed in production over a period of time. So this is important to communicate properly these to the users. Also, the interpreting and validating the clustering results are important, especially for the clustering cases. It's a little difficult to interpret the results. So at least the uncertainty parts needs to be communicated to the users. Moving to the privacy consideration side, privacy is really, really important for AI models. Uh, yeah, so the first set of guidelines are used here are called Fair Information Practices or FIPS. FIPS are a set of principles behind privacy law globally since it is used globally since 1970s. So the FIPS provide important guidance on organizational responsibilities around data privacy. So there are basically four themes called rights of individuals, controls on information, information lifecycle and management of data. Let's start with the rights of individuals. It's important to explain what data is collected and for what purpose. User consents needs to be gathered, could be explicit or implicit consents. Also, users should have access to the individual data for review and controls on information. At least for this business case, the user attributes are personal in nature. So have used enough safeguards to protect the data. Also anonymize the data to protect the individual privacy. And this is also required for legal compliance point of view. The information lifecycle explain how exactly the data is used, for how long, for what purpose. So here the data is collected and used only for the customer segmentation purpose, and then that is with the proper user consent. Uh, Also, the data will be clean post the stated purpose. It will be used only for the segmentation purpose, and data will be removed after the purpose. It will not be there. The management of data is also important because the accountability, it is important to explain where is the accountability, who is using it, what is the process of monitoring and all. So those all are there in place. Also, there is mechanisms for users to address to users to report and then complaints and then address those complaints for the users. So that is also there. With that, let's move into the applicable privacy laws for this model. So we have followed the GDPR laws, which is applicable here, General Data Protection Regulation. GDPR imposes strict data protection rules on collecting and managing the personal data. There are seven key principles associated with the GDPR: the transparency, the data minimization, accuracy, accountability, purpose limitation, storage limitation, and data security. Let's see how exactly so we follow these key principles for this model. Only the necessary data is collected for the stated purpose for limited storage timelines. Also, the transparency is maintained and ensure data accuracy along with the proper accountability and data security compliances. That is how we meet the seven key principles of GDPR. That let's move it into the last section, which is ethical considerations. there could be many possible sources of bias in building models. Ethical risk in AI systems can have significant consequences. So here the objective is to ensure a fair, accountable, and transparent AI model. Let's start with the potential sources of bias. So the first sources of bias could be the algorithmic bias, the choice of algorithm and features. Especially here, the clustering techniques are used. It potentially leads into unequal cluster size, wrong number of clusters, handling outliers, etc. So this is a possible. Algorithmic bias is a possibility. Data bias is another possibility because high dimensional data or categorical and mixed data. If there is any cases of addressing missing data, those it also can lead into data bias needs to be handled. Measurement bias is also a challenge with clustering models. If there is varying feature scales, that could introduce measurement bias. So that needs to be monitored and handled. The learning bias is another bias because the model uses user attributes to derive clusters. If there is any disparity across the user attributes, which can introduce bias. So these are the things which needs to be taken care of. Moving into the ethical AI goals, there are three goals like fairness, accountability, and transparency goals. In fairness, it could be individual fairness or group fairness. Individual fairness is people who are similar should receive similar outcomes. For this model, so we uses feedback loops and regular audits to identify bias and take the corrective actions. For the group fairness, it speaks about different groups should experience similar levels of positive outcome or rates of errors. For this model, we tries to avoid the direct usage of sensitive features like race, sex, etc. So even if the sensitive information there, it is not used for model prediction, but only to collect and aggregate group-wise statistics during training. That is how we try to negate the group fairness here. The accountability side, the model is a human-centric one, so the accountability and AI decisions belongs to humans. Uh, the, there are methods to monitor the model continuously and enable. Also, there are provisions for users to report issues and get proper support. There is transparency on set of values and laws the system is based. Enough documentation and policies to explain the working and compliance of the model. This also should be there in place. Moving to the last section, which is the transparent AI. So the user attributes considered for the user segmentations and how the clusters gets generated will be explained transparently to the users because users should understand what are the attributes and how the grouping is done. Also, there should be user consent, the data compliance and model lifecycle data usage is in place to ensure transparency. In addition to that, known limitations, challenges, and potential data or concept drifts are communicated transparently to the users. I think that's all from my side. Thanks a lot, everyone.